All right, guys, I'm coming off a perfect 5-0 day on Easter Sunday in my personal sports bets on BrockPage.com yesterday. Now, that's going to put us at 2-0 in our last two $1.99 daily best plays on that very same website. If you want to access today's $1.99 daily best play, the link for that bet is in the description section below. Now, if you have no idea what I'm talking about, I'll explain a little bit more about it at the end of the video. But before we go ahead and move on here, guys, just want to take a quick time out and welcome you to the video. My name is Brock Page, and I do sports picks for free right here on YouTube. I also sell my personal bets on BrockPage.com. We currently have over 855 members who are signed up and active on that webpage right now. Now, if you want to know what the difference is between what I do here on YouTube and what I do on my website, once again, I'll explain a little bit more about that at the end of the video. But with that, guys, let's go ahead and dive into some Monday baseball action. This is great, guys, because we have a game starting off at 11:10 Eastern start time in the morning. And that's right, that's the Twins taking on the Red Sox. Once again, 11:10 a.m. Eastern first pitch. On tax day 2022, don't forget to pay your taxes. Hopefully you're getting money back and not contributing even more. But anyway, guys, Boston's minus 140, totals 9 runs. Rich Hill for the Bo Sox, Dylan Bundy for Minnesota. And even though Bundy had a really good season debut, the Twins have actually been playing some pretty bad baseball over the past week or so. These guys lost 4 out of their last 5 ball games, and they scored only 3 total runs in those 4 losses. And when it comes to offensive woes, the Twins are striking out nearly 10 times a game. And they're also batting just 182 as a team. Now they're taking on a Boston pitching staff who actually does nothing but strike batters out themselves. The Sox are fanning nearly 11 batters a game. And they currently rank in the top 3 in the majors in that particular category. And even though Rich Hill had a bit of a rocky start to the season, he did strike out 4 batters in just over 4 innings of work. Now, when it comes to winning ball games, the Sox got the W in 5 out of their last 7 outings. Certainly a team finding ways to win right now. Now, total-wise, Boston's 6-3 to the under in their last 9 ball games. Meanwhile, Minnesota went 7-2 to the under in their last 9 themselves. I'm going to lean toward Boston minus 140 in the under 9 runs. Next contest, it is going to be White Sox taking on the Guardians, 6:10 p.m. East. Now, Cleveland is minus $1.25 in this one, total 7.5. Shane Bieber for Cleveland, Dallas Keuchel for Chicago. And even though Keuchel got the W in his last outing, the lefty actually comes into today's start with a 5.40 ERA. Meanwhile, offensively, the Sox have been kind of middle of the road here when it comes to production at the plate. They actually currently find themselves toward the bottom of the American League in offensive OPS. And they're taking on a Cleveland pitching staff who actually does a real nice job with OPS themselves. They find themselves in the top 10 in the majors in that particular category. And they're actually limiting their competition to just a .209 batting average against them. Now, Shane Bieber, he also has 9 strikeouts in 10 innings of work, along with a .70 whip. When it comes to the total in this one, 5 out of Cleveland's last 7 got over the total of 7.5 runs. So once again, Cleveland saw 5 out of their last 7 get over the total of 7.5 runs. Meanwhile, 2 out of Chicago's last 3 games got over the posted total themselves. I'm going to go ahead and lean toward Cleveland, minus $1.25 in the over 7.5. All right, next contest, it is going to be D-backs taking on the Nats, 7:05 Eastern first pitch. Washington's minus 135, totals 8 runs. Josiah Gray for Washington, Madison Bumgarner for Arizona. Now, Mad Bum comes into today's contest with a .225 ERA through 8 innings of work. Meanwhile, offensively, Seth Beers batting .381 with an OPS of 1.006. Arizona's taking on a Washington team who lost 3 out of their last 4 themselves, with all 3 of those losses coming against Pittsburgh. Now, this Washington pitching staff is arguably the worst in the National League right now as well. These guys are giving up nearly 6 runs a game, and they're also amongst the worst in the majors in OPS and batting average. Now, Josiah Gray, he takes the mound here today. He's got a 4 ERA and a 1.56 whip. When it comes to the number in this one, 3 out of the Nats' last 4 at home fell under the posted number. Meanwhile, Arizona 7-2 to the under in their last 9 at any location. I'm going to go ahead and lean toward Arizona plus 1.5 and the under 8 runs. Next contest, Giants, Mets, 7:10 p.m. East. The New York Mets are minus $1.20, total 6.5. Tyler McGill for the Mets, Alex Cobb for San Francisco. Despite a really good start to the season for Cobb, the San Francisco lineup has struggled with strikeouts at the plate. They're averaging nearly double-digit strikeouts a game, and they actually rank in the bottom 10 in the league in strikeouts at the plate per 9. Now, unfortunately for this Giants lineup, they're facing a Mets pitching staff who strikes out more batters per 9 than any other team in baseball. New York's also allowing only 2.5 runs a game right now, and their opponents are batting only 191 against them. Now, Tyler McGill, he's 2-0 thus far in the season with 11 strikeouts and a .58 whip. McGill is also yet to allow an earned run this year. Tough to spit that one out, but McGill is also yet to allow an earned run. Now, total-wise, New York saw 2 out of their last 3 in Flushing, Queens fall under the number. They're also 70% to the under for the entire season. Meanwhile, San Francisco saw 6 out of their last 9 fall under the line themselves. I'm going to lean toward the New York Mets minus $1.20 and the under 6.5. Next matchup, it is going to be Pirates taking on the Brewers, 7:40 p.m. Eastern start time. Now, Milwaukee's minus 170 in this matchup, totals 8.5. Eric Lauer for Milwaukee, Zach Thompson for Pittsburgh. And even though Thompson had a lackluster outing in his last start, the Pirates have won 5 out of their last 7. And as a team, they currently rank in the top 5 in the league in team batting average. Michael Chavis is 8 for 16 on the year with an OPS of 1.431. Meanwhile, Ke'Bryan Hayes is batting .400 with 3 doubles and 15 total bases. Now, the Buccos are taking on Eric Lauer, who comes into today's contest with a 6.23 ERA. Meanwhile, offensively, the Brewers have arguably the worst lineup in the NL Central right now. They're scoring only 3.2 runs a game. They're also amongst the worst in baseball right now in home runs at the plate. Now, total-wise, the Brewers are 60% to the over for the entire season right now. Meanwhile, the Pirates, on the other side of things, they've gone 3-0 to the over in their last 3 on the road. I'm going to lean toward Pittsburgh plus 1.5 and the over 8.5. Next contest, Rays, Cubs, 7:40 Eastern start time. Tampa Bay's minus 145, totals 8 runs. Shane McClanahan for Tampa Bay. Kyle Hendricks for Chicago. And even though Hendricks had a rough start to the year thus far, he struck out 11 batters this season in just 9 innings of work, so he's still getting the job done as far as punching batters out. Meanwhile, offensively, on the other side of things, the Chicago lineup has been really difficult to get out. They're currently leading the entire majors in both batting average and OPS as a team. Seiya Suzuki's hit 4 home runs and knocked in 11. He's also been walked 9 times and has an OPS of 1.503. This guy is always on base. You just can't get him out. Meanwhile, Wilson Contreras hit a couple of homers himself and has 17 total bases. Now, they're taking on a Tampa Bay club who lost 5 out of their last 7 themselves. And they've also had a real tough time making contact at the plate. The Rays are averaging nearly double-digit strikeouts a game, and they also rank amongst the worst in the American League in that particular category. And even when they do make contact, well, the ball's really not going far. The Rays are currently in the bottom 10 in homers per 9. Now, total-wise, 4 out of Tampa Bay's last 7 got over the total of 8 runs. Meanwhile, the Cubbies, on the other side of things, they are 3-0 to the over in their last 3 at Wrigley Field themselves. I'm going to lean toward the Chicago Cubs plus 1.5 in the over 8 runs. Next contest, it is going to be Angels taking on the Astros, 8:10 p.m. East. Houston's minus $1.55, totals 9 runs. Luis Garcia for Houston, Michael Lorenzen for Los Angeles. Now, Lorenzen's got 7 strikeouts in 6 innings of work, along with a 1.50 ERA. Now, Lorenzen's officially 1-0 on the season with no walks allowed and a .33 whip as well. Now, offensively, the Angels certainly like to hit for power. They're one of the best teams in all of baseball in home runs per 9 innings. Shohei Ohtani's got 3 home runs on the year along with 21 total bases. Meanwhile, Walsh, Adele, and Trout, they all have multiple home runs apiece themselves. They're taking on a Houston pitching staff who struggle striking batters out themselves. And as a matter of fact, these guys are amongst the worst in the American League in strikeouts per contest. Meanwhile, offensively, the Astros have had some problems getting runners across the plate. They're scoring only 3.5 runs a game right now. Now, total-wise, Houston's gone 6-3 to the under thus far in the season. Meanwhile, LA's currently 60% to the under for the entire year themselves. I'm going to lean toward the LA Angels plus 1.5 and the under 9 runs. Next ball game, it is going to be Phillies taking on the Rockies, 8:40 p.m. East. Philadelphia's minus 165, totals 11. Aaron Nola for the Titans, Chad Kuhl for Colorado. Now, Kuhl comes into today's ball game with a 2.08 ERA. The Rockies have also surprisingly done a real nice job keeping the ball in the park, especially considering the fact that all of their games except 2 were played at Coors Field. You know, that really thin air, high altitude. Normally the ball jumps off the bat there, but not for these guys. Now, offensively, Connor Joe, he's hit a couple of homers himself. 1.132 OPS for the first baseman. Meanwhile, CJ Cron, he's hit 5 home runs on the season himself. And he has 10 RBI. And of course, Cron currently leads the majors in home runs right now. And speaking of hitting the baseball, well, there's really not many teams out there who are doing it better than the Rockies right now. Colorado is currently in the top 3 in the majors in both batting average and OPS. Now, they're taking on a Phillies team who's allowed just way too many runs to start the season themselves. Phillies giving up nearly 6 runs per contest. And they're also in the bottom 10 in the bigs in opponents' OPS. Now, Aaron Nola also comes into today's contest with a 6.75 ERA. We're looking at a guy who's kind of been a shell of himself over the past couple of seasons. Now, total-wise, 3 out of Philly's last 4 road games got over the line. They've also allowed nearly 5.5 runs per contest in their last 10 meetings with Colorado. So if you're into historical trends, you certainly want to think about that one there. I'm going to go ahead and lean toward the Rockies plus 1.5, keeping this one close. And the over 11 runs. Next matchup, Orioles, A's, 9:40 East. Oakland's minus $1.80, total 7.5. Frankie Montas for the A's, Spencer Watkins for Baltimore. Now, Watkins walked a couple of batters in just 3 innings of work this year. He actually has a 2.00 whip thus far on the season, so not great numbers for Spencer here. It's early in the year. He doesn't have a whole lot of work under his belt, but still you got to consider the fact that he's got a pretty high whip in that short span. And when it comes to offensive production in this one, the O's may just have the worst lineup in the American League right now. They're striking out nearly 12 times a game at the plate, and they're actually dead last in home runs. Now, Baltimore's also they're scoring fewer runs per contest on average than any other team in the majors right now. They're taking on an Oakland team who's definitely built for a track meet offensively themselves. These guys are scoring nearly 6 runs a game, and they're also amongst the best teams in the bigs in home runs per 9. Now, Murphy, Pinder, and Brown, they all have multiple home runs apiece for Oakland. Sean Murphy's actually leading the team with 22 total bases as well. When it comes to the pitching in this one, Frankie Montas struck out a dozen batters in just over 11 innings of work, 1.06 whip for the righty. Now, total-wise, 3 out of Oakland's last 5 ball games fell under the total of 7.5 runs. Meanwhile, the O's on the other side of things, they are a staggering 9-0 to the under to start the season. If your total's better, you certainly want to think about that. I'm going to lean toward Oakland minus 180 and the under 7.5 in the tight window. Next matchup, Reds, Pods, 940 East. San Diego's minus 185, total 7.5. Sean Manaea for San Diego. Nick Lodolo for Cincinnati. Now, Lodolo's 0-1 with an 11.25 ERA. And that's really not all that shocking because this Cincinnati pitching staff has been amongst the worst in the majors right now. They're allowing nearly 6.5 runs per contest. And they're also in the bottom 3 in opponents' OPS. Meanwhile, offensively, well, this is actually looking like the worst lineup in the NL Central next to the Brewers. I know I said that earlier with the Brewers, but man, Cincinnati's equally as bad, if not worse. These guys are striking out 10.5 times a game at the plate, and they're currently dead last in the majors in OPS. Now, Cincinnati's taking on Sean Manaea, who's got 13 strikeouts along with a 1.38 ERA. Could be a tough day for the Cincinnati Sluggers. Now, Manaea also comes into today's ball game with a very impressive .54 whip. And aside from this Padres pitching staff allowing only 3.7 runs a game, they're also ranking in the top 5 in the bigs in opponents' batting average. Now, total-wise, this Pods lineup could very well put this one over the number themselves. They also saw overs this year against the likes of Atlanta, San Francisco, and Arizona. Meanwhile, Cincinnati's 70% to the over for the entire season themselves. I'm going to lean toward the Padres minus $1.85. And the over 7.5. And with that, guys, we're going to jump into our next and final matchup for the show. It is going to be Braves taking on the Dodgers. 10:10 Eastern first pitch. The LA Dodgers are minus 220, totals 8 runs. Clayton Kershaw for Los Angeles, Huascar Ynoa for Atlanta. Ynoa's 0-1 on the year and gave up a bunch of earned runs in his season debut. And that's really not all that surprising because this Braves pitching staff allows nearly 5.5 runs a game. And that's certainly bad news for Braves backers in this spot here because they're going up against a Dodger team who just pounds the baseball. They're averaging more runs per 9 than any other team in the majors right now. And Gavin Lux, he's batting .320 with 9 runs scored and an OPS of 1.015. Now, teammate Chris Taylor, he also has 6 RBI on the year himself, and he's batting .333. And when it comes to the pitching in this one, this is arguably the best pitching staff in the majors right now. These guys are leading the bigs in opponents' OPS, and they're also limiting their competition to a batting average of just 175. Now, Clayton Kershaw is 1-0 on the year with 13 strikeouts in 7 innings of work. The lefty's also got a perfect whip right now, and he's also yet to give up an earned run. Now, total-wise, 4 out of LA's last 7 got over the total of 8 runs. Plus, with this lineup here, these guys could very well put this one over the total themselves. I'm going to lean toward the LA Dodgers minus 1.5. In the over 8 runs. With that, guys, we're going to jump into our quick pick recap. Powered to you by my website at brockpage.com, where we went a perfect 5-0 yesterday in my 5 personal sports bets on that website. I like Boston minus 140, under 9 runs. Cleveland minus $1.25, over 7.5. Arizona plus 1.5, under 8 runs. New York Mets minus $1.20, under 6.5. Pittsburgh plus 1.5, over 8.5 runs. Chicago Cubs plus 1.5, over 8. LA Angels plus 1.5, under 9. Colorado plus 1.5, over 11. Oakland minus $1.80, under 7.5. San Diego minus 185, over 7.5. And before I give you my next and final free pick for the video, one final reminder that we are also 2-0 in our last 2 $1.99 daily best plays on BrockPage.com as well. I'm going to lean toward the LA Dodgers -1.5 and the over 8 runs. But that, guys, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on BrockPage.com. Now, if you guys do end up getting a membership here today on my website, just keep in mind you're going to get billed the day you sign up and then the first of every month following that. I always tell folks in every single video, the earlier in the month you sign up, the better. And guys, if you want to get access to every single bet that I give out on that website, you're going to want to sign up for my board member tier package. Now, guys, you may be wondering what the difference is between what I do here on YouTube and what I do on my website. Well, what I do here on YouTube is I'll handicap the entire slate of games in any given sport, side, and total. What I do on BrockPage.com is I actually share with you which one of these free YouTube picks on my channel that I'm actually betting on personally. But most importantly, guys, got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. Really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. And with that said, guys, happy Monday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at BrockPage.com.